What's going on, guys? Well, I have a knife to review for you today, and this one is very special. This is the Wartoad by Böker Plus, and it is a Tough Thumbs design. That's right, Tough Thumbs, Jeff, here on YouTube. What an awesome success story. Before I get into the knife itself, if you're not familiar, if you're kind of new to the knife scene, Jeff, he goes by TuffKnives. That's the company that he created, the logo, the name he created for his knife company. He started out on YouTube. He started liking knives, enjoying them, and his kind of claim to fame was tinkering and customizing knives. So people started sending him production knives. He started tweaking them, making them cooler looking, customize them, putting new scales on, change the blades, all kinds of stuff. And he grew in popularity, and eventually he started making his own knives, and he came out with really cool designs. And in the last couple of years, watching the progression of him, you know, and another good friend, Gavco, Mike, I mean, anyone in the knife community, you know the deal behind this because you're watching these channels too. And if you haven't, I'm gonna put links to both these guys in the description box. You need to go check these guys out, as well as CKC Knives. That's a third YouTube channel. Someone who basically liked knives, started watching YouTube videos on knives, and then started making them. And it's amazing to see the progression of these guys. Absolutely amazing. Now, when I first saw this, I got a text from Jeff, and it was a picture of this knife. And I'm like, oh, cool, you know, that's his Wartoad or his Tough Toad. And upon looking at the picture, I saw Böker on there. And I know it's gonna sound like really corny and sappy and stupid, but it was kind of that same feeling you get like when you watch a really good movie and there's like a great ending. And because it dawned on me and it hit me, and it was a very personal thing because like one of my goals in life was to, especially since I was a kid, ever since I got into knives, was to eventually design a knife that would be put in production. That's always been a dream of mine. And to see Jeff, you know, a friend, someone who I met online, someone who I got to actually, you know, meet in person when I was at Blade Show, you know, what a nice guy. And family guy, too, you know. It's just to see him succeed. And to me, this was the ultimate, you know, proof of succeeding in the knife world. To start making his own designs and to have a company like Böker actually put it out, you know, that was a very, very cool feeling. And I want to take a second to congratulate Jeff and all of his, you know, fans of his work for this collaboration. I think it's just absolutely awesome. So yeah, it's just really, really cool to personally know someone and see them succeed. So I mean, it blew me away, completely blew me away. So I knew I had to get one and I had to review it. All right, so anyway, people who are in the knife community, you'll appreciate that introduction. People who don't know who he is or whatever, you don't really care, you just want to see the knife. But I had to talk about that a little bit because it means so much to me personally, as a person, you know, to see a friend succeed. Just blew me away. But anyway, onto the knife. I put it back in the box so you guys can see how you get it. It's a Böker Plus, you can see it right on the front there. Comes in the cardboard box. This has a magnetic front flap. So very cool for, you know, collector's purposes if you're to get this and just stash it away in your safe. But we open it up and you can see the presentation here. Nice foam insert. Of course, we have the knife here, which we'll talk about a lot. By the way, for all the international viewers, this is in fact a non-locking knife. What do you know? It's a friction folder. That means everyone watching can buy one and legally have it, which is very cool. For the most part anyway. I know there's, you know, blade length limits certain places and so forth, but it's always extra special when I can review a knife that's non-locking because there's so many international viewers that would like to be able to purchase it too, and they don't have to worry about, you know, having it shipped from the States and all kinds of issues. So very, very cool. As far as what you get with this, you actually get a sheath, which is a very cool surprise. Now, I don't normally use the sheaths for knives, but in this particular case, because of the design of the knife and because it doesn't lock, some people will use this sheath. And the sheath quality is okay. You know, no problems at all there. I only put it on once just to see how it would feel, and it feels fine. I'm just not a sheath guy for folders in general. But the quality is there. It's totally adequate. As far as what else you get some paperwork, basically on the tool. It's just generic Böker paperwork. Of course, warranty paper. And you do get the double-sided Torx wrench, which is very nice. Again, just a small detail that I think all companies really should include. This way, when you get your knife, if you want to adjust its tension, you know, take the knife apart, what have you, you do get the tool with that. All right, guys, so let's take a look at this knife. little bit closer here. It is a friction folder, which means there are no locking mechanisms on this. All right, very important to know if you're looking to purchase one of these. Very cool thing for, again, international customers, international knife collectors, international knife users, anyone in the world watching this. For the most part, could own one of these knives. I know it's a big issue. There's so many cool knives out there, folders more specifically, but if it locks, there's so many people who just can't enjoy those because they can't legally have them where they live. So it's particularly nice for me to review something like a friction folder because I know 99.9% of the people watching can legally own something like this, all right? So very cool. As far as the tension, it's very, very smooth, this knife, in opening and closing. You can, of course, adjust the pivot, but I mean, out of the box, perfectly smooth, and once it's all the way open, it doesn't want to shake close very easily. And of course, if you're not familiar with friction folders, the extended part of the tang here nestles inside the handle, and your grip in holding the knife reinforces that blade staying open. And in addition to that, when you're cutting things, the pressure is put on the edge of the knife, not on the spine. So there shouldn't really be any issues where the spine is pushed and the knife wants to close. But even if you happen to bump it into something, or if you're using this really rough, and you can use this knife in a really rough fashion, it could definitely take it. Your grip reinforces that. So, the tighter you hold on to it, the stronger it is, and the less chance it's going to close on you. Even if you were holding like this and you did take a big bump to the back and it did kind of slide out a little bit, because of the recess and the finger choil here, the tang is going to maybe pinch your finger. You're not going to get cut. There's no way you're going to get a cut on this, on your hand from this knife closing. Very worst case scenario, which is probably never going to happen to anyone, you might get a bruised or pinched finger. All right. So as far as safety, I know some people who aren't too familiar with knives, they don't like the fact that it doesn't lock. It's really nothing to worry about. I could definitely, ensure you that this is a safe knife to handle and use. As far as the materials, G10 scale on the front, black. Very nice that they use the matching hardware. So it's all blacked out hardware for this. You can see there is a lanyard hole on here. On the reverse, we have full titanium. It's a thick piece of titanium. Also our back spacer here. So it's a partially opened frame. This does stick out a little bit from the frame. The pocket clip I'm going to go over in a minute. I'm going to get some of the specs out of the way because I want to talk about how this carries and stuff in a separate part of this video. But you can see on the reverse, the hardware does match the titanium. Okay, so just really nice, clean look overall. The ergonomics are phenomenal. I mean, through the roof, so comfortable to hold on to. You can see there's a natural cutout on the spine of the blade. Your thumb just melds in there. It's really comfortable to use. This is basically a 2-finger grip knife. It is small overall. 2-inch blade, 3.5 inches closed. Handle length is 3.5 inches, and the overall length is 5.5 inches. Okay, but this is a 2-finger knife. In other words, your pointer finger is going to nestle right here, and your middle finger is going to rest on the secondary finger choil. Now you can see it's much larger, but I really don't foresee many people, unless you're a woman or a very young teenager, I don't really see anyone's fingers, landing 2 of them in here. For the most part, it's going to be 1 finger here, the other finger here, and your ring and pinky are going to land somewhere towards the base when you grip this knife. Whether you have a natural grip or you put your thumb on top of that spine, it's very comfortable to handle and use. There is a little bit of a point on here, although it's not very pointy, obviously, just by the geometry of the blade. So this is not a stabbing knife. You can, however, get that tip in places to, kind of puncture. I mean, especially when you're cutting packages open, you're puncturing through a box or something and then sliding across to either cut through the cardboard or the tape or both. And that does excel in this particular knife. There's a knife curvature in here. In the blade, a natural curve is beneficial for slicing. So I mean, obviously this is not a stabbing knife. This is more of a slicing utility style blade, and it does work very well at that. As far as the grind, again, it is a hollow ground blade. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it is also chisel ground. So our grinds are only on one side of the blade. The reverse is completely flat. And of course, this is the presentation side, as most people are righty. That's where the Böker logo is placed on the knife. And on the reverse, there is the TuffKnives logo, which again is very cool to see on a production knife. Nice finish on the titanium here. It kind of looks like a stonewash finish. The pocket clip, I'm not too fond of the pocket clip, the way it looks or carries. Again, I'll talk about this in a moment. You know, so I might even take this pocket clip off and use this knife as an inside the pocket, or I might even start carrying this one in the sheath, which again, I don't do very often, but I'm just not a fan of this pocket clip. But the knife overall, I'm a huge fan of. I love the design, super comfortable, very, very useful knife. Easy to open. The another thing to mention too, though, is that there's a hole in the blade here, and it might look like an opening hole, but just how this pivots around, you could see the extension here on the handle. It kind of gets in the way, so for me to open it one-handed like this, my thumb hits that, it's uncomfortable, so I have to use either the very edge to circle around it, or just simply use the extended tang here. Now you can also note that this extended tang here is chisel ground down, so you can use this as a makeshift pry bar, or you can also use this for a scraper, okay, to save on your actual blade. It's very cool. I just think that the way it's angled here, this point comes out a little bit too much, so it's too uncomfortable to hold it like this. I mean, you're gonna poke into your skin. You have to kind of hold it in this grip, your pointer finger kind of around here, and use it like that to actually scrape things, or you can just hold it with the scales to scrape things. So it's very cool. I like that it's a secondary tool within the knife, just not as practical. More or less, most people are probably going to use this to open the knife, as opposed to use this as the pry bar or a scraping tool. But it's still cool that it's there. It's not hurting anything. All right, I want to talk real quick about the fit and finish here, just the overall quality. It really is top notch, and I was very surprised to find out that these are made overseas, because if you didn't tell me, I would think they were made right here in the USA. The quality really is top notch. There is no real centering because of the nature of that chisel ground blade, and it looks like it's rubbing on the frame, but if I grab a flashlight real quick and show you this, they're very nice tight tolerances, and you can see the space in between the handle and that blade all the way down. All right, so it's very close to the side here, but there's no rubbing at all. All right, so I mean, just overall, quality of this is very nice. One thing I did notice, it's a very small detail, and it's not going to affect the cutting at all, but at the base here, it pushes out just a tiny bit, and I have to kind of zoom in to show you this. Right here, looks like a little bit of just a little nub, all right, in the grind, but that's only because where the edge stops, there's a little bit of a choil here. All right, doesn't affect the cutting performance at all, just something I happen to notice. All right, let me show you real quick the edge here. I'll use the paperwork, so we're going to be cutting that. So although small, is a very capable blade. Now keep in mind, this is not the factory edge, and I did not touch this up since using it. So I mean, just really, really good performance on this. Again, out of the box, it's even sharper. But with some use on this, it still held its edge very nicely. I have no issues at all with Böker's 440C. I mean, again, some steel snobs out there, and they're going to want the latest and greatest, but as long as you have a good quality heat treat on a blade, shouldn't be any issues, especially with 440C. I think it's one of the most underrated steels. Just a quick note on the 440C blade, it is completely adequate, especially for the price range. All right, I have a pair of pants here I'm gonna bring into the shop because I want to talk about how this carries, okay? This is just a pair of cargo pants. It has a slanted pocket, of course. It will carry a little bit different if you're just wearing jeans with more of a less angled pocket. But I'm not a big fan of how this carries with the pocket clip. In fact, I've only carried it with the clip since I've had it, but I will take it off and probably start either using the sheath or put this knife into the pocket, just at the base of the pocket. Now, some people are going to freak out the idea of putting a friction folder loosely in your pocket. Oh my God, Jeff, it's going to open up. You're going to cut yourself. I have yet to cut myself on a knife in use. The only time I ever cut myself was when I'm flipping a ballad song, and that's only when I'm trying new things. I'm not really worried about that. There's enough tension here. It's not going to fall out very easily. If I try to whip this out, you can see how much it opens. That's not going to happen in my pocket. Okay, in my pocket, it might get jostled like that. It's not going to open. However, I can understand if you don't want to carry it without the clip. If you do want to use the clip on this, which most people would, I want to show you how it carries here. In this particular case, this is how it's going to print or show. This kind of hook, this natural hook where your thumb lands on the blade, works kind of like a stop at the corner of the pocket. All right, now when carrying this, I did rub up against it with my hand after I took something out of my pocket. I had the trolley changer, I was paying for something, put the trolley changer back in. When I went to go put it back in the pocket, this little piece here rubbed on my hand. It didn't cut me or anything, it was a little sore. So as far as the, clip carry on this, not my favorite knife in the world, but it'll obviously get the job done. I'm just not a huge fan of the look of the pocket clip, in general. I love the knife enough where I'm going to start carrying it without the pocket clip. It's not really an issue for me, as far as, well, I don't like the clips, I'm not going to use a knife. I love this knife. I really like the design, so I do want to start using it. I'm just going to use it without the pocket clip. But as far as anyone who's worried about safety, again, being a non-locking knife, this carries like this in the pocket, okay? The blade and the spine is up against the seam of the pants. It is not going to open because this is going to be pinching the material of the pocket, all right? So you don't have to worry about this opening up in your pocket if you were to use the pocket clip. All right, something I wanted to point out, as well as this does tuck nicely against the corner. So if you were to have a knife clipped in there and you still wanted to reach in for other things, I didn't have any issues with that at all, with a standard pair of cargo pants. All right, so I just want to show you real quickly how that carried. Again, not a personal fan of this pocket clip, and the angle, how it carries, the look of it, the whole thing. I'm going to nix the clip, but I'm still going to use the knife because I absolutely love it. All right, let's talk about price now. These are selling for $94.99 over at BladeHQ.com. It's the only place I saw these so far. They are sold out now. However, I got word that they're supposed to be back in stock by Black Friday. I would highly recommend checking it, every day until they do come back in stock. These don't last long. In fact, the custom War Toads and Tough Toads that I've seen on Blade HQ before, they announce when they're going to be doing, the sales, and I think the last time it lasted like 20 minutes or something ridiculous. So these do not stay in stock. The custom ones sell literally in an hour or less. The production ones won't last very long on the sites either. What's very cool about this is if you've been following Jeff's work and you really want one of these knives, you don't have to pay the $400 plus price tag. All right, his customs are expensive because it's hours and hours and hours of work that go into them. The custom versions, what you can expect would be like maybe dual titanium, so both scales are titanium. They're heavily modified, they're carved, they're worked in all different ways. The titanium is colored a lot of the times. There's just special features on those knives. Obviously, the blade steel is going to be different. There's etching on the blade. There's a lot of fine detail. He's not called Tough Thumbs for no reason. I mean, I've seen his thumbs in person, and they're beat to crap. Okay, because he is working on knives day in and day out, 24/7. The guy lives on his grinder. It is his passion. And what the work that goes into his customs, that reflects on the price tag, not just materials, but his time. We all, appreciate craftsmanship, and the time and effort he puts into his knives is definitely worth those price tags on that knife. But a custom knife is not for everyone, nor is a $400 plus price tag. So that's why I like these so much, is because now his design is actually available in a production package. And I can tell you the size, the feel, the weight, everything is the same with this one compared to his custom. The only difference is that these aren't made by him and they don't have all the little extra features in them. That's it. But you're paying a quarter of the price for the production version. So that's why I think these are worth the price tag that they have on them. Plus you are getting titanium, it's not just some cheesy, cheap 303 stainless steel or something. I mean, the blade is a very good quality 440C. The heat treat is great from Böker. I've talked about that in past knives that I've reviewed from them. With the titanium, with the design, I think it's priced right. So for anyone who wants to critique the price, consider the other factors in this equation, not just compared to other knives. If you want this style of knife, it's either the $100 price tag for this one, which I think is well worth it, or you pay the $400, $500, $600, whatever it's going to be for the elaborate custom hands-on made version. All right, so to sum up this knife review, I really, really love this knife. It's extremely, extremely ergonomic. It's very comfortable to use. It's a very functional, very legal knife for people all around the world. The negatives for me, the opening hole doesn't really function how I would like to because of that scale. So that's a negative to me, as well as I'm not a fan of the pocket clip and pretty much how it looks. How it carries is fine. I just had one particular incident where, kind of rubbed my hand the wrong way, so I didn't like it. So I'm going to take the pocket clip off. I will continue carrying this knife because it is seriously badass, and I'm extremely proud for my friend Jeff in getting this into production. It is super, super cool. So for all the people out there who really wanted one of his customs and couldn't afford it, this is your chance to jump on it and be able to try out one of his designs. So super cool. That is the TuffKnives Böker Plus collaboration on the Wartoad. Very cool friction folder. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Any questions or comments, feel free to post down below. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon with some more knife reviews. Take care.